So, you don't know who to go for the Genshin Impact 3.4 rerun. There are a lot of good options. There are Xiao, Hu Tao, and Yelan, and all of these characters are very good in their own right. And hopefully this video will help you decide who to go for your own account. A few things, this video won't be a totally meta-focused video, because even if a character is good, they can sometimes not be the best for your own specific account, depending on what characters you have and what characters you do not have. So this video will take that into account as well. First up, let's talk about the first phase of Genshin Impact 3.4, which will feature two 5-star main DPSs or on-fielders, Alhaitham and Xiao. Both these characters are very good damage dealers for their specific element. Because Alhaitham has not totally been released yet, and we only have some very sketchy leaks about him, the following section will be on my personal thoughts about him and what I think about him from these leaks. So far, at the moment, it seems like the better character, meta-wise, in the first half of 3.4 is actually going to be Alhaitham. This is for a few reasons. First of all, he is not Bennett reliant, he is not Zhongli reliant, and he's not reliant on a specific 4-star character like Xiao is for Farazan. On top of this, he seems to be our best Dendro driver because he applies more Dendro than Nahida does, albeit on field, which makes him in a similar position to Child as to Xingqiu. So, as Nahida is to Xingqiu, Child is to Alhaitham, which should be interesting. I'm guessing there's going to be one really strong team that utilizes Alhaitham, but other than that, he's not going to be the best character in any other teams. I feel like he can just be slotted into any other team, and we'll see how he goes. That being said, Xiao is also not a bad option at all, because Alhaitham will probably be a decent bit easier to build than Xiao. I would recommend getting him over Xiao. That being said, Xiao is a very fun character to play, and his damage is also pretty good now that Farazan has been released. Farazan was a massive buff to his damage, which is fantastic. The main issue with Xiao is that he cannot work with Venti like Scaramouche can, which is a decent downside because Venti can also utilize the buff from Farazan and can also provide decent particle generation for Farazan, so that's a decent downside for Xiao, but Xiao is still a very strong animal main DPS character. That being said, everything I've said about Alhaitham has not been confirmed because he has not obviously been released yet, so I recommend, if you want to pull for either of these characters, to wait to see what people think about Alhaitham a few days after his release to make your final decision about if you want to go for him or not. Now let's talk about the more controversial portion of this video, and of 3.4 in general, which will be the second half of Genshin Impact 3.4, featuring two very popular waifus, Yelan and Hu Tao. Because of Hu Tao's general theme of death, and also because of her being a pretty quote-unquote creepy character in general, which is surprisingly what a lot of people think. She is not very liked by MiHoYo, and she does not get as many reruns as other characters. And Yelan's last banner was her first banner in like Genshin 2.6 or something. And it has not actually been too much time since that last banner, not even a year yet. So I'm guessing Yelan is going to get her next rerun before Hu Tao gets her next rerun. That being said, Hu Tao does have a few caveats, and that is if you don't have either Zhongli and Albedo, or Zhongli and Yelan, Hu Tao is not the best pyro option for you. In that case, even a Shangling can beat Hu Tao in a single target damage scenario if you do not have either of these two teams, which is double Geo or double Hydro. And because Shangling already exists and everybody already has Shangling, Hu Tao is already not a very required pull. So meta-wise, Yelan is better. So if you're not totally worried about missing out on another year of Hu Tao or so, then you should go for Yelan, because Yelan is the objectively better character in my opinion. But there are also a few caveats to getting the Yelan, which are if you do not have either a Yoimiya, a Diluc as a main DPS that you actually use, or a Hu Tao, there is really no point of going for Yelan. At the moment, Xingqiu can serve as well or even better than her in many Dendro teams and even in many Pyro teams, so in a lot of cases it's not really worth your primos to spend on Yelan if you do not have these specific main DPS characters that can properly utilize her, and this is because Xingqiu exists as a 4-star. On top of this, because Yelan's Hydro app is not as good as Xingqiu's, and not nearly as good as somebody like Childs or Ayatos is on field. Because of this, she is actually not the best in Dendro teams, and it's better to either have a really slow applicator like Kokomi, or a fairly fast applicator on field like a Xingqiu. But a very good thing about both of these characters, Yelan and Hu Tao, is that they both are not Bennett reliant, because Yelan scales off HP, and so does Hu Tao, and Hu Tao does not like being healed. Hu Tao teams generally do not use a Bennett. I've seen some use of a C6 Bennett, which can be, like, I guess, meh. In my opinion, I do not like it at all, but it's technically viable. Her best Hu Tao teams just use a Zhongli with no Bennett, and a Xingqiu, Yelan, or Albedo, what have you, which is very good. So you can say run National in the first half, and you can run your Hu Tao team on the second half, which is very, very valuable. Similarly, Yelan's teams, a lot of them don't need Hu Tao, don't need Bennett as well, such as a Yoimiya team with a Zhongli, or a Scaramouche team with a Zhongli, or a Hu Tao team with a double Hydro setup as well. All of these teams are very solid and they do not require Bennett, though some of them really like having a Bennett. Now let's talk versatility. All of these characters, with the exception of Yelan and maybe Alhaitham, are very not versatile. They can work in one team and that's it. With Hu Tao, you either have double Hydro or double Geo, double Hydro being the better option. With Xiao, you just have the standard hyper carry Xiao setup. But with Yelan and maybe Alhaitham, you have more options. Alhaitham being an on-field driver, I'm guessing he's going to be very good in spread teams and also in hyper bloom teams, though I think his main team is going to be as an on-field spread main DPS. So yeah, if you want versatility, then Yelan is your choice. Now, a few things about the first half of Genshin 3.4 that I'll be going back to. I actually do not recommend going for Xiao for a few other reasons like I've talked about right now, which is that I really like having a Zhongli for my Xiao team in particular, because getting knocked out while in the air is a really big annoyance, similarly to how it's a very big annoyance for Scaramouche. And also he takes up a Bennett slot, which is really, really bad. So what is my final verdict on the Genshin Impact 3.4 banners? Who is the winner in this banner showdown, if you may? I personally think if you're not too worried about waiting another year and a half for Hu Tao, then our winner is going to be Yelan. Yelan's flexibility on top of her unpersonal high damage and her non-reliance on Bennett gives her this spot in our Genshin Impact 3.4 banners, or I guess who I recommend going for in the Genshin Impact 3.4 update. If you like this video, please do hit the like button and also subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.